What's good? What's good? It's the one and only, but what do I know? Boxing coming back at y'all with another one, man. So it's basically been confirmed without being confirmed that Showtime will no longer do business or no longer do they won't do they're getting out of the sports business in general. They won't be putting hosting for any boxing or MMA events or whatever. But I can't speak on the MMA side. I will speak on the boxing side though. Now, this might come as a bit of a surprise to a lot of people, but it didn't come to a surprise for me. Not for reasons that you may feel like, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I have an inside source that tells me anything that goes on behind doors with Showtime. But I've seen I've seen the foot tracks that Showtime left behind. I seen the same thing with HBO, and I knew something was going on. So while this year has been an amazing year for boxing, obviously it has to. Showtime's going out with a bang. But I knew something was going on when they were trying to throw everything on pay-per-view. They were what are some fights that we had recently? Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez. Big fight. Should not have been a pay-per-view fight. Tank Davis versus Hector Garcia. Should not have been a pay-per-view fight. Alright, I understand Tank versus Ryan. That's cool. David Benavidez versus versus Demetrius Andrade. Should not be a pay-per-view fight. Those shouldn't be pay-per-view fights, man. If you guys remember when HBO was going out of business, when did HBO get out of boxing? Like in 2017, if I believe. Or was it 2016? It was either 2017 or 2016. If you guys remember, they were throwing everything on pay-per-view. Triple G versus I think it was 2017 when HBO went out of business. But I was gonna bring up Triple G versus David Lemieux. That shouldn't have been a pay-per-view fight. But Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postal, like stuff like that. Like they were throwing everything on pay-per-view, and it later came out that they were getting out of the boxing business or whatnot. And Showtime's doing the same thing. Now, again, I don't have any inside sources, but I can tell you what I feel like is been wrong as far from a long time. I've always stated, bro, my biggest issue with the PBC is that these fighters are not active enough. These fighters are fighting once every fighting once a year, once every 10 months, once every 16 months, they're not active enough. You got guys in the prime of their career. These guys are going to retire with 20, 30 fights now, like in the early 30s at that. Now that's nothing wrong with being retiring with that, because boxing is a brutal sport. But you see so many guys in the history retire with 40, 50, 60 fights, and these guys don't have that many fights because they're wasting the prime of their career. What ends up happening is, and I'm gonna tell you about the domino effect that goes on with boxing, more so the PBC. Floyd Mayweather, a long time ago, I want to say back in 2016, 2017, Floyd Mayweather stated, man, these fighters are getting paid too much. And he received a lot of slack for that. A lot of people, thought, man, Floyd, you just hating. You want to be the only person, making the bag, making, you want to be the only person making this amount of money and all this type of stuff. But come to find out, like, Floyd was actually telling the truth. Now, regardless of Floyd being a hypocrite in that situation, he's telling the truth. These guys, you got to think about it. And first of all, let me tell you, I'm always for the fighter first, bro. I'm always for the fighter first. Do I feel like Terrence Crawford deserved 20s of millions against Errol Spence, hell yeah, I'm not mad at that part. What I get mad at is when you have fighters, these big names fighting these A-level fighters fighting these C-level fighters, but getting paid A-level money. Meaning, if you guys don't understand what I'm saying, let me break it down some more. When you get that's another one. Keith Thurman, Mario Barrios. Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios. That they put that on pay-per-view. Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius, and I love Deontay Wilder. I'ma always support my guy. I bought it, but that's still that wasn't a pay-per-view fight. Chris Arreola versus Ruiz Ortiz, not a pay-per-view fight. Ruiz Ortiz versus Ruiz Ortiz. Chris Arreola versus Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz, not a pay-per-view fight. You get what I'm saying? But anyways, when you get a fighter like Keith Thurman, right? And this is just an example. I don't know what Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios, I don't know what the purse was. But you get a fighter like Keith Thurman to fight Mario Barrios and get paid $1.5-2 million. Where is the motive for him to fight a top name? So what ends up happening, right? It's a domino effect. This is what I was talking about earlier. You have a fighter that they want to get paid so much money, right? So, but in order for them to get paid this money, they can't fight 4 times a year and make the same type of purse or whatnot, right? So what ends up happening? They have to then space the fights out, right? Fighting once a year. So then they fight once a year. Right now, a loss, when you fight once a year, a loss is a lot more impactful than if you were to fight 3-4 times a year. You fight 3-4 times a year, you might lose in January. By December, we done forgot about that. You done fought 2-3 more times. Like, bro, we trying to see if you can either get that revenge or what's going on next for your career. But you only fight once, and then we know we're not gonna see you till the next year. That loss is way more impactful now. Now you're setting back, and you fell all the way back. You're back to the bottom, and now you have to stay there for a while. Rather than move on, like, you fight 2-3 times a year, like I was saying, and you climb up. By next year, you back at the top. This is just breaking it down in layman's terms. You back at the top by that next year. Now next year you fighting March. You fight March of what is it? You the typical thing. You fight July of 2023. We don't see you until April of 2024. So now what does that do? Now a loss is a lot more detrimental to your career. Fighters don't want to lose. A lot of people blame Floyd Mayweather. They say Floyd Mayweather kind of messed it up for boxers because he made the so important. But bro, you don't have to follow that blueprint. You could be a reason why that fight, like, bro, think about, I put it like this, right? You got guys like Gabe Rosado who got like 13 losses, but we still want to see him. Gabe Rosado is the reason why that theory is not correct, bro. You guys choose to hold on to that theory because you guys are not fighting as much. But when you have a fighter that like Gabe Rosado's fighting the best, Gabe Rosado got like 12 losses, but people still wanted to see him. He could still get these big fights. But these guys, you don't want to lose. So now what comes with that? Not wanting to lose. Well, now you don't want to take the risk in fighting somebody that's just as tough, just as good, just as skillful, just as smart as you are. So now, what does that mean? Well, now we don't get the best versus the best. Sum it all up. Well, that means because we don't get the best versus the best, Fans not really happy. Then you got the nerve to throw this stuff on pay-per-view. Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios did like 20,000 pay-per-view buys. You got all that, bro. Do y'all remember 5 years ago when, bro, we didn't have to worry about that? You think they would have put Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios on pay-per-view? Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius on pay-per-view? Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz on pay-per-view? Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez? Do you think they would have put any of that on pay-per-view 5-10 years ago? No. They wouldn't have put those are good fights. Those are good, solid fights. But not pay-per-view. It takes 2 stars to make a pay-per-view. I understand Tank versus Ryan Garcia. That obviously made sense. I mean, look, they did 1.2, 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. I get that. I get Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Yeah, that's another pay-per-view fight. I get that, right? We've been wanting that fight for a long time. I get it. But these guys are being put on pay-per-view and not doing anything. I don't know I don't know how much money they put into the funds or to promoting the pay-per-view fights, but they're not doing anything. So, bro, now what do we have? Well, we have another situation like HBO where, unfortunately, it looks like Showtime, the second pioneer in boxing networks, is now no longer doing business with boxing. So what does that mean? Well, they only did business with the PBC. Top Rank is still with ESPN. You still got DAZN. But it's rumored that the PBC is looking at Amazon Prime or looking to be at DAZN. I personally think that I'm going to be honest with you. DAZN is a boxing platform. I wish the PBC would be with DAZN. I wish Top Rank would be with DAZN, because DAZN is a boxing platform. If they're gonna put it like that, I wish they would all go to DAZN, and then that way you ain't gotta worry about booking events and all this type of stuff, and you don't gotta worry about that. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. But what do I know?